Welcome back to a special episode of this Cycling Tips podcast. Now, earlier this week when we released the regular episode, Kaylee mentioned a interview with Koen de Kort of Trek Segafredo that Jose Bain did earlier in the month. We weren't able to slot it into the episode as it got a little bit long, but it's an incredible interview, and Koen is a very likable character. We wanted to throw this interview into its own episode so that people could listen to it. So in case you want a little bit more context, the interview itself is up on cyclingtips.com, which you can check out. I've also linked it into the show notes of this episode, so you can check it out. Just scroll down, hit that link. Koen had a really unfortunate accident with a four-wheeler / dune buggy / some kind of driving contraption and lost 3 of his fingers. So that's kind of the context of the interview. And Jose chatted with Koen about the accident, his very long career, and what's next for him. So enjoy this interview with Koen de Kort.
We have, as Trek Segafredo announced it, Peloton favorite Koen de Kort. Koen, what do you think about that word, Peloton favorite? Do you feel yourself like a favorite of the Peloton?
Yeah, wow, good question. It's obviously not a bad title to get, so there's no complaints there. I think I've got a lot of friends in the Peloton, so hopefully that's a correct description.
How did you? If I look back at your results, the first result I could find is 1999. That's another millennium. How do you look back on all those years on the bike?
Yes, well, it's been a long time for sure. That's definitely true. I still remember obviously starting cycling because of the Tour de France starting in Zertogenbosch in '96. So that's when I really first saw the bicycle as a sport. Growing up in the Netherlands, as you know, obviously, you ride your bike to school and to the shops, etc. But I never really saw it as a sport. But from '96, I did, and I fell in love with it very quickly. And it's been a very long time. It's taken me all over the world. It's given me lots of success and great times. So lots of incredible memories. And now it's time to transition into the next phase. But hopefully I'll still be able to use the bicycle as a way to stay active, but not anymore to actually race.
Yeah, of course. I have to ask you about the accident that happened to you. Can you describe what happened on that day?
Yeah, so I was driving with 2 other friends. We were all in our own buggies, so with like off-road vehicles, and in Andorra, they can take you to incredible places where you have amazing views over the mountains, etc. And we were just driving to this really nice ski lodge where you can have lunch, and this is a place where you can't get with the car or anything, with a normal car. And I drove. I can't really remember exactly what happened, but it rolled, and somehow I must have managed to get my hand outside of the vehicle and between the roll cage and the ground when it rolled. And I just remember looking at my hand and being quite shocked.
And that says a lot because, well, you've been part of the Peloton and you've had your crashes. Did you know already that it was very, very serious?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the way that I saw my hand, and the way that my fingers were kind of hanging loose, it was a very severe injury. So obviously at the beginning I had to hope that maybe they could still fix it, but in my mind I kind of knew that it was really, really bad, and that this was going to be something that was going to affect the rest of my life.
How did you get down the mountain? Who helped you to a hospital? How did you get there?
Yeah, it was actually very quick. A helicopter took me to Barcelona very, very quickly. So I was brought there by helicopter, then operated as soon as I got there. So it was all that day, like from just before I rolled the buggy until the next day is kind of a blur that I don't really remember too much from. I think probably part of a shock, but yeah, I just remember waking up and thinking, all right, so I guess that's it, just gonna be 2 fingers on my right hand from here on out.
Was that also the first question you asked the surgeon? Could you save my hand?
Yes, yeah, I was directly also in contact with the team doctors, and especially team doctor Manuel Rodriguez. I called him basically directly after the accident happened, and he spoke to the people in the ambulances, in the helicopter, and he spoke to the specialist when I arrived there. So he was also keeping me informed, and it was nice to have someone there that I trust who was part of the process with me. So that really took a lot away from me. But yeah, it was pretty clear from the start. Like the specialist straight away said, like you've got a severe chance of losing 3 fingers.
Of course, the news comes out, and there is this huge outpouring of support. Did you see everything on the social media? Because everybody was so shocked that this happened to you.
Yeah, I have to say I haven't really seen all of it, especially from the first day or two. There's still messages on my phone from the first few days that I still haven't seen, or it kind of takes me back to a moment I want to leave behind now. So a lot of people are now or have sent a second or third message, and then I see that they actually did send a message that first day, but I haven't actually gone back and look at most of them, and especially also the social media. It wasn't really the first thing on my mind. Wasn't really checking social media and checking my messages. It's great. It's absolutely amazing to get all this support. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm super happy to see that I've apparently affected so many people's lives that they feel they need to support me in when it's a hard time for me, and that's amazing, and gives me a lot of strength.
Of course, we are a couple of months later. It takes time to digest something that happens. When was the moment that you think, okay, this is it, we have to look towards the future? How much time does that take mentally?
Probably a couple of days.
Only a couple of days?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the first few days, I could only just think about, just terrible things about like what I couldn't do anymore, or how this is going to change me as a person, etc. How it was going to define me. So I was just listening to podcasts 24/7. Just if I could sleep, I slept. If I was awake, I didn't have to think. So I was just keeping my brain occupied to not have to think. But after a few days, I already started to think, like I still have the 2 most important fingers, and I can actually still do quite a lot. And it turns out that I can do at home now. Like as soon as I left hospital, there was another step, because then I got home, and then you got to figure out what you can still do. But it turns out I can actually still do pretty much everything here. I can cook dinner. I can cut everything, even with my right hand. I can still write. I can type. I used 10-finger type. Now it's 7 fingers. There's just small adaptations, but it's not that there's really a lot of things that I find now that I really can't do. It's more just adapting to be able to do it again.
Is that maybe a mindset from the cycling? Because as a cyclist, you crash and then you have to get back up again. Did you go into that same kind of mode. Okay, this happened. We have to continue and see how fast I can go back to where I came from.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think definitely as soon as you crash or something happens, you just try to get back as soon as you can. The focus is on healing, and the focus is definitely on healing for me at the moment. And at first it was, leaving the hospital. Then, I was just fully focused on healing as quickly as I can so I could leave the hospital. Then leaving the hospital, obviously, it was a few tough days where, all right, I'm out of hospital. So what do I do now? What's the next step? And, now the next step is just like trying to make sure all the wounds are healed, trying to make sure that I can use the 2 fingers that I have left and the hand as much as I can. So, I can do as many things as possible for the future. So that's now the next step again. So I just try to have sort of like smaller goals that I can work towards. And there's definitely still hard moments, and it's not only looking positively towards the future. There's some moments that I still doubt, and it's hard, and I'm a bit sad about everything that's happened. But in general, it's just looking forward, and also getting a great job with a team and track for that helps a lot for the future. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to work hard towards, so I can have that bit as well. And it's I think it's definitely a mindset, and I think I've always been a person that's pretty positive and always wants to make the most out of every situation, and I guess that helps me a bit now as well.
Can you still make a foam latte?
Yes, I would definitely still be able to. As I said, everything's just adaptations. I might have to use the left hand a bit more than what I used to, but I was already thinking, like, how am I ever going to throw a ball again? But then I was visiting my sister and was throwing a ball with my nephew, and I have to throw a ball with my left hand, but turns out you can throw a ball with your left hand as well. So it's just adaptations, which it takes a little while to get used to, but then it's also possible.
Because I'm asking, of course, because you have your own cafe in Andorra. Is that also part of your future plans?
I was always just excited to have the cafe, and I'm still excited to have the cafe. But the main focus is definitely going to be on my job with track, and being part of the cafe. It was always more of a management role. We have great employees that don't really need me to help them in the kitchen or help them make lattes. But now and then when it's busy, I have made lattes in the past and have cleared tables of dirty dishes or served out some food or some cakes. But I'm pretty sure I can still cut off a piece of cake and make a latte and hand them out to people. I don't think my employees need me to be a chef in the kitchen. And even that, if I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I would still be able to. But no, there's no need for that.
Your job at Trek is clearly very exciting. It was clear from the press release that it was. What is the thing what you look forward most in your new role, and what is your new role going to be for the people who missed it?
Yes, so it's they call it team support manager. We take over because Glenn Leven, one of the best mechanics I've ever worked with, one of the mechanics I've dealt with a lot over the years that I've been with Trek, and now we're taking over the role together from Matt Shriver, who was the technical manager, and it's just kind of being the connection between the equipment sponsors, with obviously Trek being the biggest one, but we've got a lot more equipment sponsors, and the team. So we need to make sure that the products are tested properly, and that also the opinion and the feedback from the riders gets taken to the equipment sponsor. So we as a team can have the best the best products or the best developments, but also the equipment sponsors can develop the best products because of the feedback that I have from the team. It's a track factory racing team, which and they have this team especially because then they can get feedback on new developments by some of the best riders in the world, and it's an important position to be there and be that connection between the two. So I think for me that gives the excitement to be part of cycling, of the team, be part of the sport, and go to races and hopefully be part of winning races, but also have the corporate side of it, and have to make sure that we sell a lot of bikes and we give the best customer service. So I think the combination between the two is what I was always really looking forward to be able to do, and I'm super happy to get.
Of course, I can imagine you had already thought about ending your career this year, but in my mind, it probably would have been in Roubaix. Are you going to transition into this role straight away, or will it be next year?
No, I'm definitely going to transition straight away. This week, I've already done some things for this role, and we have some more meetings coming up. And then I've got before we officially take over in November, I've just got to go to as many races and as many places as I can to learn a lot from Matt Shriver, who is currently still in the role. So I learn how to do things because, in November, Glenn and I are on our own, and then we are responsible. So I think it's wise to start to learn from him as much as we can straight away.
Is that something you dread, being at a race for the first time again in this different role, or is it something you look forward to?
No, I'm looking forward to it now. Obviously, straight after the accident, I wanted to just disappear, and I didn't want to see anyone. But then I already had family and friends visiting me at the hospital, and just trying to be as open as I can about it. And now I'm also looking forward to going back to races, and especially the support that I have received from the team, but also from lots of other riders outside of the team who were never teammates before, but they sent me messages and gave me a lot of support. I'm looking forward to seeing all of them again, and I'm really excited to still be part of cycling.
Of course, your career has ended, so it's also time to look back at your career, which has been long. You haven't won much races, but you were important in winning many races. What are your best memories from all these years?
Yeah, I think what I've always enjoyed is making sure that teams work really well together, and helping riders win. I think some of my best memories are probably some of the bunch sprint wins that we achieved with Marcel Kittel back in the Skill Shimano and Argos, etc. These teams. These were great memories where I think as a team we really were more than just all the individual riders, and I hope that was for some part because of my influence. Then some other great memories are with John Degenkolb, who's also a great teammate and also an amazing friend who's already visited me at my house here in the last week. So it was great to be part of him winning Roubaix, of him winning Sanremo, and of him winning even the Roubaix stage in the Tour de France with Trek. I got some great memories of that as well.
And personal memories, like the races where you did really well, because of course there've been great personal results as well.
Yeah, what I feel is that I was not very often focused on getting my own results. So the good feelings that I have about the races are, when I did a great lead out, for instance, or when I feel like I made a difference.
Listeners will, of course, pick up that slight hint of an Australian accent that you have. How did you end up with that one?
Yes, I've always loved going to Australia. So, when I turned professional, my first team with Liberty Seguros, I had two Australian teammates, Alan Davis and Aaron Kemps. And when I met them, they just said, like, oh, why don't you go over to Australia and train with us in the off season? So I went over and stayed with Aaron Kemps, and did that for the first few years, and then actually found an Australian girl that I eventually married. So that meant I spent a lot of time in Australia. Unfortunately, that marriage ended, but I still went back to Australia as often as I could. But now with the COVID situation, I haven't been able to, but I still have lots of Australian friends that I speak to very regularly on the phone. So I guess that's where the accent still comes from.
Do you have any plans or dreams to maybe move to Australia one day?
I would love to one day be able to end up in Australia and live in Australia. For now, with especially accepting this role and staying in the sport of cycling, that's a bit of a long-term idea, but it's something that I definitely have still in mind for the probably a little bit more distant future.
If you look at all these years in the peloton, Koen, what is the biggest change you've seen in these 20 odd years?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of small changes that I think changed cycling quite a lot. When I first turned professional, I mean, we used power meters, but I was just like really the beginning of it. I remember lots of races where we didn't even have power meters, or we didn't have power meters on time trial bikes and stuff like that. But so I think it's just become a lot more scientific. Where at first it was just train a little bit with a power meter and mostly on heart rate, and we'll see you at races, to where everything is kind of controlled by the trainers and by the teams, and the differences are very much in the details. So I think that's where a big change has come, where it's very important to train well, because you can simulate races really well, and it's probably often better to prepare for races training than it is racing, which was definitely the case when I first turned pro. So I think this full scientific sort of approach to it has changed cycling drastically.
And if you could go back to first year junior Koen all the way back in 1999, what would be the most important advice you would give that 18-year-old kid?
I think just enjoy what you're doing. I think that's been super important for me, and I think I picked up pretty early. I've had a long career because I also enjoy what I do. Maybe if I've done things differently, maybe I'd won more races, or maybe I'd never won any race, but my career would have been much shorter. It's difficult to know, but I'm really happy with my career and how it's eventually worked out. And I've had a lot of I've really enjoyed cycling, and I've made lots of unforgettable memories and some great friends, and I'm proud of that. And if I do it all over again, I hope I could do the same thing. Including what happened to you on that buggy? Probably I would have told myself, 24th of June 2021, don't get in that buggy. Okay, well, much respect for your resilience, Koen, and I'm sure you have a fantastic future in the peloton with all the experience that you have. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll see you at the races. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure we will speak to each other again, and in a somewhat of a different way, but still would be nice to keep speaking to you. Well, I have one more question. How excited are you about working with the women's team? I think it's great. I mean, with Matt in the role previously, and him just being by himself, I think it was a little bit too much for him at times, and he had pick things that he could do because of time limitations. So having 2 people in this role now will give us more opportunities to go into details, and with the men and the women's team, where I think we can approach both teams a little bit better. So I'm really excited to also help the women's team improve and stay or become the best in the world. I would say stay the best in the world.
Is there big changes that you already have in mind that need to be made, or is the level already quite professional?
No, I think the level is very professional. I think our women's team is great. Just the way they approach everything is really good. But there's obviously some things that can be improved from an equipment side. I think there are some women-specific things, but also some things that are for both men and women's team that can be done better. I think the first thing that we need to do is just listen to the men and women of the cycling teams and figure out what they would like to improve, and then get to work.
Dankjewel, Koen. En we zien elkaar wel weer ergens.
Ja, absoluut. Graag gedaan. En we spreken elkaar zeker.
Oké, bye bye.
Doei.